Hear ye, hear ye. Oh, my Arkansas slipped out there. Hooper Legacy Court is in session. New series I'm starting with Brandon Anderson today to talk about the legacies at play for the 2025 NBA Finals. I wanted to do a breakdown of this. My name is Matt Moore. I am the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. You can find me at HP Basketball. I write a Substack called Hardwood Paroxysm. I write another Substack called The Denver Dig that covers the Denver Nuggets. I host Locked On Nuggets. I also host Locked On NBA. Brandon Anderson is the senior NBA futures analyst for the Action Network. He joins me. We do buckets together. And, well, that's a betting podcast. And Brandon and I think about the NBA a lot. And we think about things that are a little bit bigger than that. And legacy is, I think, something that we're both interested in, both as people that are interested in the history of the sport and the history of the league and where these kind of players fit in. So I wanted us to come on here to be able to have a little bit of room and space to talk about the legacies at play in the 2025 NBA Finals. We're recording this on Tuesday, June 10th, before Game 3 of the Finals, so the result is not decided yet. As it stands, it's 1-1 series going into this last game, and we've got a number of questions to get to kind of talk about the legacies at play depending on who wins this series. And I'm personally, Brandon, I'm glad that we've got a 1-1 series so we can kind of consider both sides, because it is possible for the Pacers to pull this off because sports happens, and that would be an incredible story. And if not, then the season-long incredible story of the Thunder comes and plays out with their first title since moving to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go with their first title. Let's all be real. Like, Seattle Supersonics will be a team again someday and deserve to be a team. And I know that has to count as part of this. I know, I count it too. It's the first Oklahoma City Thunder title if we get there. Indiana Pacers won ABA titles. It's the first Indiana Pacers NBA title if it gets there. Like, let's just be real about what we're watching here. And it has been through 2 games. Tighter than expected series, and that it's 1-1 rather than 2-0 Oklahoma City. Thank you to Tyrese Haliburton. Yeah, I admit I was like, I don't know about the timing of this because we don't really know who's going to win yet. So how do we do legacies? But I like the questions you've come up with here that do allow us to do both sides of the equation and, to pre-give credit where it would be due if either side gets there. And I think, too, to celebrate both sides, as both these teams deserve to be celebrated. One of them is going to end up losing the finals. Either one of them will, if it's the Thunder, it will feel disappointing. Even though it will still be maybe the best season the team has ever had, it will still feel disappointing for the season. For the Pacers, I think it's possible that like they could lose in 7 and it could be like the best season in Pacers history. It'll still feel like a victory. And so I think either way, it's worth celebrating. And I think, the legacy stuff matters. The finals MVPs and coaching and how things stack up. You and I are always doing that stuff. Like that. This is not a first take yell at each other. We may yell. We like to yell at each other sometimes. But I think this is trying to put in the context of, we've barely had this league 75 years. And it's crazy. I am listening to the audiobook of Nick Green's How to Watch Basketball Like a Genius. Do you know that book at all?
No, I don't.
I'm only a couple chapters in, so I can't give too much. But the first chapter, like 40 minutes since audiobook, was just the history of basketball and James Naismith's creation of it. And a thing that I'd never really processed in my mind before is how young the sport of basketball is. Like football, we know the NFL has only been since the 60s, so the NBA is older, but football, the sport, has been around. Baseball, the sport, is centuries old. Soccer has been many centuries old. Basketball's new. Basketball is under 100 years old as a created sport idea by one person. We're still figuring this out. Matt, we're learning stuff about turnovers and motion offense and things right now that like the sport of basketball is still figuring out. And I thought it was cool to just, we all grew up studying history in our schools. NBA is still in its like early adolescence historically compared to a lot of the other sports that we pay attention to. And so I think that's what's cool about all this legacy talk is to see where things are and where they're going.
I think it's one of the things that's on the history standpoint. baseball, they kept records almost immediately, and there was definitely eras that were lost, but it not to the degree that it is with the NBA, where it took them a long time to be like, hey, when the guy grabs the ball after somebody misses, we should like write that down. What do you call that? A rebound? We should write that down. Hey, when you pass it to a guy and he makes the shot, you should get credit for that. Like in hockey. Like that stuff, I think it does kind of get lost. And then also, I think the era's adjustments is so difficult in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why we get to live in the moment a little bit. Like I do think with baseball, you're always dealing with the immense leviathan of history.
Yeah.
And with the NFL, the game, even though like it doesn't look like it used to, passing is way more in vogue now. Although like Eagles kind of making a push back the other direction. And last season we saw running backs have a lot of success, but like the game is still fundamentally like it's translatable even from the 70s and 80s to today, even with the hyper athleticism. But versus like I always talk about this where I'm just like, you can't like we can't compare today to the 70s. Everyone was on coke. Like everyone was on coke. And like everyone laughs at that joke, but I'm like, no, like seriously, the NBA had a massive drug problem in the 70s. Like this is documented and written about and has been covered. Like it was a massive problem for them in that era, especially as the ABA guy came in. And so you have like just lots of messiness. And then you had television, and then the 80s and the transformation of like Lakers and Celtics, and then the Jordan, like these eras are so distinctly different that I think it makes it really interesting to kind of compare it and to kind of put these things into historical context because of how disparate the various eras of the NBA is.
Yeah,
Let's
I
start.
agree.
Let's start with a question. I have 8 questions, and Brandon has a couple as well. My first one: Shai can join a list of very few players as MVP and Finals MVP if they win the series. He's going to win Finals MVP if they win.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees he's good. Everyone agrees he's great. Everyone's like, yeah, he's great. Even if you're just like, yeah, he's a free throw merchant. I hate watching him. Is he good? Yeah, he's pretty good. He's really good. But he doesn't feel like an all-time great right now. If he accomplishes this, what's the immediate adjustment to his place in history, winning both MVP and the Finals MVP in the same season?
Yeah, so here's the list. Here's the full list of MVP and Finals MVP in reverse order: LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Magic Johnson, Moses Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Willis Reed. End of list. Caveat: we didn't create Finals MVP until like a couple decades in, so let's just retroactively add certainly Bill Russell, for whom the award is named after. George Mikan, let's give him one of these. I'm going to guess Wilt probably at some point at least got one. That's the list. Like this is a who's who of great players in NBA history, notably absent, like Larry Bird, not on the list. Julius Erving, not on the list. Jerry West, not like some of the all-time greats didn't make the list. This is a very, very exclusive group. Also notable on that list I just gave you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names, plus the couple from old school. Two names on the list are guards: Magic and Jordan. That's it. So Shai has a chance to join Magic and Michael Jordan as the only guards ever to get a Finals MVP and an MVP in the same season. The question that I asked myself, and I think you kind of said this in the prompt as well: why doesn't he feel like an all-time great yet, and how much do we adjust? So here's my answer. There's another guard that I think should be on the list, that I think most of us think should be on the list. Not to relitigate all the old Finals MVPs, but I do in fact relitigate them. I have playoff MVPs from all the 75 years of history. But one that was a bit controversial even at the time, recently, I think Shai winning Finals MVP would set him up as 2015 Steph Curry. Steph did not win Finals MVP that year. Iguodala won it by, I think, a vote or two. But a lot of people think Steph should have won. He did win MVP. He won the championship. That was the beginning. And I think that's the thing for Shai is I don't think he feels like an all-time great yet because I don't think Steph felt that way in 2015 yet. We were just starting. And I think the Thunder are just starting. Jim Turby and I are going to do a series on buckets soon about most likely team to win a title in the next 3 years. So I've already done the work on that. I have Oklahoma City at least 50% to win at least one title, another title in the next 3 years. I have them 11% to win at least two of the next three titles. And to be clear, that's not counting the one right now. Regardless of that one, they're miles ahead of everyone else. This team is young and going to keep getting better. Shai is young and probably going to be in MVP contention for like the next 5 years because we know how MVP works. You win a lot of games and you're the star of the team, you're in MVP contention. He's in that spot. And frankly, there's not a lot of like in his age range competition right now where we had Jokic, Embiid, Giannis kind of all battling. Shai needs a Luka or somebody to show that that's his equal and push him in this mix, or he might rip off 3-4 in a row. The Thunder might rip off 3-4 in a row. Steph finishes, well, we don't know if he's done. Steph right now, 2 MVPs, 4 titles. It feels to me like at this point, assuming the Thunder win this year and the finals MVP goes to Shai, 2 MVPs and 4 titles feels like a soft prediction for Shai and the Thunder team, I think. So I think he will feel like an all-time great. I think he's just Steph a decade ago, and we're just starting with this thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying that. I think, who was I talking to? I was talking to somebody this week that was making this same kind of feeling. Everyone is going to get in here. This is like going to be the thing is like, I think that like everyone's going to present this as their bold take is like, I think the Thunder are going to win several championships. And I'm like, yeah, and everyone's saying that. I feel differently. And I think it's totally okay to have that kind of belief. It makes logical sense. Like you look at everything, like if you look at things from a cold, hard, factual window, that's a logical conclusion. I want to go back to the Steph thing. I felt differently about Steph than how I think. This is how I remember it. Like it's like
Sure.
This is what I think I remember. I felt at the time. It did feel as much as I was never a fan of Steph's game because it took all of the fun stuff that I love about the NBA out of it, where it was like counter matchups and screen actions and all, and it was just like no, he just shoots it from 35 feet and it goes in. Like it doesn't matter. Like but the tension and the battle between two great teams, both trying to make the perfect. No, it doesn't matter. It's just shooty hoops. You just shoot and the shooty hoop goes in, and that killed me. It really killed my love of basketball for a couple of years. And I understand nobody understands that. Like I'm a weirdo. But even then, like Steph was universal. Like we knew 2013, we were like that we've never seen anything like this before as a shooter. 2014, we were like, oh my God, like he's doing it again. Like Steph's like legitimately becoming one of the best shooters we've ever seen. And then 2015 happens. And even in that run, and I don't think he should have won finals MVP. I don't think he had a good finals. He honestly has never had he's had I think before 2022, he was sublime the whole way. He really didn't have like great playoff series for a number of reasons. I think in part because the Warriors never had to be like, hey, I need you to do something incredible for us to win. It was like, no, we just like do normal basketball stuff. We'll win these games. And that's what they did. But it felt very much like Steph always felt, everyone's like, would be like, he's an alien. I'm like, no. Because aliens are still of another planet terrestrial. They still come from another earthbound thing. Steph is a god. Like he is a demigod. He's Icarus. Like he is that level of like bestowed with like Zeus came down and shot a lightning bolt into his shoulder. And that's how he's able to shoot. It didn't feel real. I've often described his shooting experiences as like surreal. Shai doesn't feel like that at all. And again, I love so much about Shai's game, and I've written about it I wrote 5,000 words on it for Paroxysm this year. of just like, here's all the awesome things about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. It's incredible. He's so precise. He's the best driver in the league. You can't keep him out of the paint. He's got the best change of pace in the league. Like, there's all these amazing details I love about him. But when he shoots a mid-range jump shot, it doesn't devastate the crowd.
Yeah.
And Steph would hit these shots and the air, like we're lucky no one died from the vacuum that was created by everyone exhaling at once. Like or inhaling at once. Like it was just it's horrifying. And so he doesn't really have that. But if he does win this finals MVP, I think it starts him out as like, here's a good kind of comparison of it. Nash has 2 MVPs, but no finals MVP. Like, you would have to rate Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think, above him. And that's crazy for as young as he is. But that singular season of accomplishment, because it's so rare to have a season where you win MVP and then carry it over, like, that makes it more impressive, which I think is really interesting, because it shouldn't be that way. We should be like, well, no, you were MVP and you were the best player that season. Your team was the best and then you won. But because it doesn't happen, it kind of opens up this opportunity for us to kind of reframe things in this like really interesting kind of way. On the Thunder point, I will just say we've seen different champions every single season since 2018. The injuries right now, because of the minutes that are being applied on these guys, is worse than ever, and it leaves everything so much in doubt, and it leaves everything so delicate. Like, Jason Tatum having managed the load that he did until he tore his Achilles is honestly like preposterously impressive. He deserves so much credit for how many games and minutes he played. On top of the luck factor, there's just like, look, you mentioned like Luka, like the Lakers are going to get somebody, like they're going to reshape the roster this summer, and Luka Doncic. Now I'm kind of like, God damn it, is Luka underrated now? Like, that's where I'm having to be at. And then the down south is Victor, and Victor's coming, and he's coming fast. So all of those factors combined with, I think everything came together perfectly for OKC this season. And I'm a believer that every season is its own ecosystem, its own microorganism. And you have to like deal with the next season's going to be its own thing. And the season after that's going to be its own thing. So I have a lot more skepticism about OKC's ability to repeat, triple-peat, get 3 and 4, get 3 and 5, whatever. But I understand why you kind of got there.
Yeah, I think for me, genuinely, I believe this. Because again, this is a thing I've been kind of looking into as I think about the next 3 years. And, 3 years is a crazy long time. Look back at the title from 3 years ago, and it's just like completely different rosters, totally different teams, coaches. Half the stars have traded teams. 3 years is a lifetime in the NBA. The Thunder might not be that, though, because Shai and Chet and J-Dub should all, by everything we know about basketball history, still be getting better for each of the next 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Like that, everything we know about ages and arcs in history said, like, and it's not just them, even the old guys, quote unquote, on the team, Hartenstein and Caruso, are like not even 30 yet. Like, the role players are still going to be playable if they're around as well. And they still have all the war chest of draft picks, and like J-Dub and Chet can still take a further leap to where they've been in their progression. I think truly, genuinely, I agree. Every season is unique. I agree it's hard to repeat. I think there's a very real chance, and I think a good chance, this is the worst Thunder team of the next 4 years. Barring injuries, which there's going to be injuries along the way, I think that there's a good chance the Thunder keep getting better from here. And so let me throw a different comparison for you. Rather than Steph, what if Shai is not Steph? I'm going to go different position here. What if Shai's Tim Duncan? And the Thunder are going to just be at the table in the conference finals. They're going to lose sometimes, but he's going to just keep having a chance after chance after chance with this loaded team and a great defense and a great coach and a top 3 seed every year. And year after year, they're going to have a chance. And over 2 decades, probably not, because that was his own thing. 2 decades is way too long. But over some length of time, and even you talked about the taking the air out of the crowd. Not Tim Duncan, not Timmy. He's going to bank one in and run back down the court, block your shot, come back down, bank another one in, and then win by 12. Good night. Thank you for coming out. Shai is a little bit more that style of play also, just as far as like, he's just going to he's going to do his thing, and the Thunder are going to do their thing. And when the thing is done, you're going to have lost by 20 again. Thanks for coming out. How about Shai and the Thunder as Timmy and the Spurs?
I like that comp a lot better. That makes sense. That could be it. And it could be one of those where like his longevity ensures such a high level of success that people like me are like, look, you've got to put him on these all-time lists because of the amount of success that he had over such a long period of time. And he was so consistent every single game. Like if he's averaging 30 a game for like 6 years in a row, you know, what is that
65
really?
win one seeds year after year and top 3 MVP finishes, because that all goes together. Like, I just feel like it is
as
set up for the
usual,
compilation to be there.
As usual, you are optimistically projecting based off of the stats, and I'm going to come in with those annoying human things of, you know, what's going to ruin it is ego, man. It's ego and money. That's what's going to ruin it, because that's what winds up taking out these teams. Kendrick Perkins, of all people, had like an interesting comment this week, which I wasn't really anticipating. So Kendrick Perkins had the rare moment of actually providing something of insight this week. And one of the things that he said was, he was talking about how KD came to him in 2012 and was like, hey, we're going to lose James. And he was like, no, man, Presti will re-sign him. He'll give him the extension. And KD was like, no, man, like James wants his own team. And there's a lot about that situation that has always like, I do not have enough reporting to be able to be like, here's the story. There's going to be a book someday about it. And I'm going to be like, finally, thank you. Because the way that this was really kind of framed, and like, I don't blame Bill for this, but like Bill Simmons, I think, is one of the biggest ones of how he framed that being just a cheaping. And I'm like, that is not what happened. That is not what happened. Harden wanted to be a guy who Adidas drove up to his house with an entire truck full of shoes and pushed for his MVP campaign. That's who he wanted to be, and he was never going to be that in OKC. Maybe J-Dub's wired differently because I don't know J-Dub that well. And so it's entirely possible, but I would just say, like, I think I will always believe the ego and money will get in the way. But let's talk about Tyrese Haliburton, because I think let's talk about this one's interesting too. But also here I want to talk about Rick Carlisle, because Carlisle I think is so fascinating here. Carlisle, if the Pacers win this series, he'll join Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, and Alex Hannum as coaches to win a championship with more than one franchise. Those are the only coaches that have done it, which is shocking to me. He would have authored 2 of the greatest upsets in NBA history to do so, on top of his regular season and postseason success across the seasons with the Pistons, the Pacers, the Mavericks, and the Pacers again. Just how much are we talking here if he is able to pull this off and actually win this title? Where does Carlisle go all time?
Yeah, the list here threw me off a little bit, because I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't know that I've ever seen the name Alex Hannum before you sent me the list and the questions today. And this coming from a guy that spent the bulk of COVID years, like going through 75 years of NBA history and learning it all. I guess I should have focused a little more on coaches. So Hannum coached early in the early days, like bounced around, had 3 years on this team, 4 on this team, etc. Clearly won a bunch. In fact, it turns out that Alex Hannum also has an ABA championship. He's the only coach that has an ABA title and 2 other franchise titles. So he actually has 3 franchise titles if we're counting the ABA. Phil and Pat, we know these names, obviously. I think on coaching Mount Rushmore, I don't think Carlisle has any shot at coaching Mount Rushmore. To me, it's Phil, Pat, Pop, and Red. Those are the 4 names, whatever order you want to do them. I don't know how Carlisle breaks into that quartet. Maybe Pat Riley is the most gettable in that group. I think more to me, it's like, okay, in the current era of coaches, which I'm going to exclude Pop from that just because he spans so long, we talk about Spo as the guy. We've talked about Steve Kerr as the guy, a very different version. I think Carlisle becomes in the mix with those names as like the great coach of this era. I thought it was interesting your point about, yeah, not just 2 titles, but those 2 titles, those 2 upset titles is a big deal to upset with the Mavs 2011, an upset that a lot of people were real excited about because it came right after the decision, and a lot of people are really happy to see LeBron lose that year, myself being one of them. I know a lot of fans too. And then this year, as the Thunder being the heavily favored 1 seed, another huge upset, and a very likable Pacers team that's had a very memorable run as well. So I do think that stuff matters. Interestingly, with Carlisle, I'm glad you mentioned the Pistons. He kind of built that Pistons dynasty team in the 2000s. You know, that went to what, like 5-6 straight conference finals. He went to the first one with them, 50 wins in a conference finals with Chauncey, Rip Hamilton, and Ben Wallace. No Sheed yet. That was the trade deadline the next year. Tayshaun was 22. Larry Brown gets credit for the title because they got the leap the next year. Carlisle kind of got that team close to where they needed to. Carlisle also won a title on the 86 Celtics as a player, like Rick Carlisle. Good 6th man sort of dude, contributing probably like 8th man, you know. Kevin McHale, I suppose, is the 6th man on that team. 86 Celtics, pretty good team. Like regarded by most as a maybe the best team ever or top 3 to 5, whatever team. Like, turns out the man's putting together a pretty good 4-decade career of it. Like, once a decade, you get to contribute to one of the greatest somethings in NBA history, whether it's a team or an upset or whatever. Yeah, pretty cool. Already, even to get the team to this level and give them a shot here is a heck of a run for him. I don't think it's coaching Rushmore, but I think he's got a clear top 10 coaching case and maybe is pushing for a top 5 or in that range.
So, like, here's a really fascinating one, right? Chuck Daly.
Yeah, it's another good one.
He coaches from 1981 to 99. So his actual coaching career wasn't actually as long as it's kind of made out to be. But Daly coaches, he wins 2 titles, but he wins them with the Pistons back to back. Rudy Tomjanovich, another pretty good comparison here. Well respected by his peers, disrespected by Phil Jackson because Phil Jackson's Phil Jackson. But Rudy Tomjanovich, he wins 2, but he wins them with the Rockets in 94 and 95.
Daly, by the way, coached the Dream Team to the gold as well, correct?
Yep.
Not you know, you or I probably could have coached that team to the gold, let's be fair, but Daly gets credit for it. He was there.
Spo, 2 titles, but same team. Doing it in 2 different decades with 2 different teams, both as an underdog, it represents like a very different accomplishment because that Mavericks team really was stacked. Like, they looked awesome in November, and then they lost Dirk for like a month and a half, and everyone got thrown off the scent. And like, I remember, like, I tweeted about it at the time. I was like, I really do think the Mavericks can win the title this year. That's how good they are. And they lost Caron Butler too. If Caron had been there, they would have been even better because they wouldn't have had to rely on Deshaun Stevenson, even though Deshaun Stevenson was incredible in that finals. Like, if Carlisle wins, he's got more titles than Larry Brown. That's nuts. Like, Larry coached for what, 4 decades? 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s? He hung it up in 2010. Like, he would have more titles than Bill Fitch, an absolute legend. More titles than, for more current names, like Ty Lue, Lenny Wilkins. More titles than Doc. More titles than Jack Ramsey. Like, winning that second title is really rare, and doing it with another franchise is as rare. And you got to remember, like, Pat won with the Lakers and then winds up in Miami at like the very end, and that title run was pretty rare. But like, most of his work was done like with the Showtime Lakers when the league was like trying to get, when Magic, it was not only Magic, but it's like Magic and Kareem, right? He had Magic and Kareem. You know, Phil gets.
He hit the Knicks too. The Knicks didn't get the title, but he took the Knicks to a lot of high places. It just happened to be when Michael Jordan existed.
Yeah, read Chris Herring's book, by the way, Blood in the Garden.
Yeah. Great.
Phil, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Grant, Kerr, like stacked rosters, obviously, but more importantly, just like had Jordan, right?
Yeah.
Then he gets Shaq and Kobe. Rick Carlisle's doing this with Dirk Nowitzki and Tyrese Haliburton. It's a different deal. And so that's, I think, is really going to be kind of fascinating. More than anything, you're right, he won't break into the Rushmore, but he does exist in what I think is that space in between of like the Chuck Daly's, Rudy Tomjanovich. It's not just those teams with those guys with 2 titles. It's the guys that are like legendary coaches that aren't at the Rushmore. And that's where I think that he goes. I think that's a good way to put it.
It's the capital C conversation. He gets in the conversation.
In our Elite 100, you had Tyrese Haliburton higher than I did, but we both had him very high to where he landed 6th overall. And you and I took an endless amount of shit from the internet, which I have taken no end of joy in sharing the comments that I got back in August to those reactions and being like, would love to hear from you now. We won't talk about all the things I got wrong on that. But what's going to be the aggregate ranking of Tyrese Haliburton on the top 100 lists this late summer, early fall, if he wins with the clutchest final shot ever, no push off, and wins finals MVP?
And all the other shots from the rest of the playoffs, like the
most clutch season. Yes.
Yeah. 4 game-winning shots in the final 5 seconds, which we've all seen the stats. Like, 5 is tied for like the second most in the stats era that we can have credit for these, and he has 4 in one postseason. So where does he rank? Anyone with any amount of credibility will be like, oh, he's in the top 10 now. Like, everyone will be so proud to pat themselves on the back and put him in their top 10. We already saw it, Matt. The Ringer already put out their new improved top 100 heading to the finals, and they literally framed it, releasing it as, look who's entered the top 10. It's Tyrese Haliburton, because we were the only publication that had Haliburton in our top 10 and took all the crap for it. You and I don't think either one of us had him 6th. I think it's just that, like, I think we both had him like 8, 9, something like that.
Yeah.
It's just that we disagreed on the guys right above enough that they can offset.
You were so low on Jason Tatum.
Yeah, that's true. We had a few guys. We had like Brunson and Wemby that we both were like 5 and 15 in opposite directions on. So then they kind of averaged just below Hallie, and we just both were high on Haliburton. I think he's everyone's top 10. To narrow it a little bit, I think that there are only 4 players who are definitely ahead on everybody's list. Jokic, Shai, Giannis, Luka, whatever order you want. I think those 4 are ahead on every list. Somebody's going to put him 5th because somebody's going to want to like be the people that put him in the top 5 now. But to me, just grabbing some names, I think he's in this mix of names. These aren't really in order. I think Wemby, you could argue maybe is the 5th guy now. Wemby is going to be in that mix. Steph, LeBron, Durant, Ant, Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, maybe. Anthony Davis, maybe. I think Haliburton falls into that kind of tier range. And I think people are going to not want to be the publication to be the ones underrating him after that's been the story the whole postseason. So I would say if I had to like put a number on it, and I'll let you go over under it, I believe Owen Phillips put out like the aggregate rankings of like 8 or 9 of them. I'm going to say aggregate ranking 8.3 over or under for you.
If he wins the title, under. If he wins the title and finals MVP, under. An interesting one here is what if he wins the finals, but he does, and Pascal wins finals MVP? Right? Like what does that look like? I think the under. I think it'll be because I do think a lot of people will want to be hesitant on Victor. Like that's a really interesting question. Is like Tyrese right now or Victor?
Yeah,
it's a really interesting question. Like it's a genuine because both of them shape the game well beyond their box score contributions. the fact that Steph's still here is a real testament to him and his greatness, that he's still at this point where I flinched when I was like, yeah, Tyrese Haliburton's better than Steph. And I put him there last year, and even now I'm like,
yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, here's my bold prediction, Matt. I think on Owen Phillips' graphic, when we do our Elite 100 and everyone else does theirs, I think every single other publication will rank Tyrese Haliburton higher than they did last year. And I think you and I will actually rank him lower than we did last year. That's my prediction.
That sounds like us.
Wait, I have a correlated question here. Do you have more on that, or I have a correlated Haliburton question for you?
Hit me.
Okay. In this scenario where Tyrese wins the title and Finals MVP, I want us to rank him among right now. I want us to rank him among all-time Indiana Pacers, and I'm going to caveat NBA Indiana Pacers. So if you're watching at home, Mel Daniels, George McGinnis, Roger Brown, we love you. You're all ABA guys. So let me give you some names here to help you out. Tyrese Haliburton or Rick Smits?
Tyrese Haliburton.
Okay, I agree. We're going to up the ante a little bit. Smits only made a one All-Star team. I couldn't believe that. Tyrese Haliburton or Jermaine O'Neal? And remember, you're getting the whole O'Neal Pacers career, but just what is this? 3-4 years of Hallie? You said Hallie?
Yeah, it's Hallie.
So Jermaine O'Neal, 6-time All-Star, just with the Pacers, 3-time All-NBA Most Improved Player. Similar profile, going up a step. Paul George, 3-time All-Star with the Pacers, 3-time All-NBA, 3-time All-Defense, Most Improved, 1-year top 10 MVP. Paul George, Pacers career. Tyrese Haliburton, Pacers career.
Tyrese Haliburton.
I think so too, which leaves us one name, Matt. Reggie Miller, 5-time All-Star. Criminal that he is only a 5-time All-Star. 3-time All-NBA. Received MVP votes twice, no top 10s. 6-time conference finals, 1-time finals. They lost. Reggie Miller or finals MVP, Tyrese Haliburton?
Oh, God. Reggie.
I think it's still Reggie because he just Reggie is Mr. Pacer. Like the whole of his career and what he means to that franchise has to still mean more than like not even half a decade of Haliburton. But that it's even a conversation is wild to me.
Like I looked at the names of who was on the roster the first time that Reggie made the playoffs. And then you look at the names when Reggie last made the playoffs and you're like, oh my God. And it was like every year they were in the playoffs. Every year they were winning series.
Yeah.
Like Reggie really is underrated. Like it's very popular to kind of downrate him right now. And I'm just like, guys, if you put him in today's game, he wouldn't be Steph. But we would have 5-hour-long debates about Klay Thompson versus Reggie as far as like the best shooter. It would be insane. It'd be ridiculous. And he probably would join LeBron at some point.
I'll take it a step further. I don't think it would be a debate. I think Reggie clearly ahead of Klay. Go for fun sometime, not you, Matt, but to listeners. If you want to get Reggie in context, look back at the Pacers teams year after year. Look how they stacked up offensively by like offensive rating, top five year after year. Look at the talent. Look at the guys on the team. It's Smits and it's Dale Davis and Antonio Davis. These are defense first teams. They're building the entire team around defense. And then Mark Jackson sticking his butt into you in the post. Loved that in the 90s. And then Reggie Miller running circles around dudes and shooting off-kilter jumpers and threes. And just year after year and getting better in the playoffs, which very few all-time greats do. I think Reggie Miller is a phenomenal and underrated player. We should be thinking higher of him, especially if we had him in this era forward. But that we have to think about the Haliburton comparison to that. What you and I both think about Reggie is pretty wild.
If the Thunder win, Sam Presti will have the same number of titles as Rob Pelinka. Just depressing. Is there any chance that Presti isn't underrated when he hangs up whatever you hang up as a GM?
No. I don't know what to give you on this one. Rob Pelinka has a ring and the Luka trade. Rob Pelinka has both of them now. Rob Pelinka has friends on the right teams. He did both parts. Sam Presti drafted Durant and Russ and Harden, all future MVPs. And he traded for Shai. So the man has identified and put together a team to develop 4 MVPs. Who knows? You never know with J-Dub or Chet or whatever else. There could be more. 5 Western Conference Finals. Feels slightly lower than what I feel like the number should be, if I'm being honest. 5's not low, but given the talent.
2 years lost to the KD and Westbrook injuries.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And again, 5 might turn into like 10, depending on where this team goes. If the Thunder really rip off a bunch, 1 ring, to me, again, I think some version of this is just the beginning. Maybe they're not going to rip off 3 or 6 in a row. We're not that era anymore. But could they do 3 in 5 or 6 years? That's, I think, what this team is looking at if they prove it and get over the hump on this first one. I don't know. I don't have GM rankings for you. I don't know how to do that. I don't know where to start with that. So I don't know how to count whether he is underrated or not. But you know, if you're doing a GM ranking, it's got to be Jerry West first, right? I assume like that's a name that's going to come up. No,
there's one name, and it's Sam Presti. I'm not kidding.
Wow.
So for me, here's what I'll say. It is also very in vogue to be like, Sam Presti's so overrated. He doesn't even have any titles. That's a Lakers fan direction to take. Because everyone's like, oh, congratulations, you traded for draft picks. We trade for superstars. And what gets lost though about the draft pick thing, because what happens is everybody, it's dunked on brain of like thinking that like asset acquisition is the end game. And I understand that criticism. Winning is the end game. But I will tell you for a fact, Sam Presti would tell you that too. But the key for Sam is that he's not out there blindly searching and then finding gold. Like he's not just searching in the dark and winding up, tripping over a rock, walking into a coffee shop and walking out with Luka. With Sam, it's like, how do you do the best job you can at what you do? If you really get close to OKC, which is difficult, you see the details of them up close and how many little things they care about. It like their standard of excellence is not just for players. It is for players, support staff, ball boys, equipment managers, GMs, scouts, assistant GMs, player development staff, business and market. The whole thing extends from Presti. And it is impossible for you to examine it and not be like, oh, that's why they're. And here's the thing. You go like, well, that's not why they're good. They're good because of Durant and Shai and blah, 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 blah. And like Presti would tell you the same. Like Presti would tell you every time. He would deflect credit every time for what he's accomplished. And no other GM in history would do that. Like they just wouldn't do that. And so when for the kind of success that they've had, Presti's going to go down as the most underrated GM of all time because I don't know how much longer he does it. I really don't. I really don't know how much longer he does this. This is going to be his like crowning achievement. I really, I have not spoken to Sam in some time. I will tell you that I would not be shocked if Sam retired this summer. Would not if they won. Would not be surprised. There is no reporting there whatsoever. But if that happened, I would like that is a thing where everyone would be like, "Oh my god," and I'd be like, "Yeah, that tracks." That makes sense. He's going to go do something else now. And you know what? He's going to do something else. And whatever he goes and does, he's going to be successful at. Okay. This Thunder team. 68 wins. The best point differential in NBA history. The best SRS, simple rating system, point differential versus strength of schedule in NBA history. A 16-5 or 16-6 or 16-7 playoff record. Only one series conceivably going more than 5 games potentially, as we sit here at 1-1. Put them amongst the best teams of all time, and then put them amongst the best teams since 2000, since the turn of the century.
So we love to crown the teams and jump ahead. I had a hard time quite getting there here, and I think to me it's 2 reasons. The game ones, the Denver game 1 and the Indiana game 1, that they dominated most of the way, should have won, but didn't on both of them. That you said 5, 6, 7 playoff losses. The 2001 Lakers lost once.
Yeah.
Like we talk about the Sixers, Lakers, we talk about that specifically for this series as a possibility. Yeah, that was such a big deal that that Iverson won because the Lakers were undefeated before that. They had not lost a game against a West team, and then they didn't lose again after that. The 2017 Warriors, they lost once, all playoffs. They lost their last chance that they could lose, I believe, and then won the gentleman's sweep when they could have just gone undefeated the entire playoffs. Gentleman's sweep, trademark Matt Moore. When you lose once the entire playoffs versus a team that's lost at least 5, maybe 6, maybe 7, that's a real gap. The numbers you stated are all real, but they're all regular season numbers. And I think we're even learning as these last couple years of playoffs are showing us, those net ratings aren't fake, but they are inflated. We especially in the 3-point era, we're getting more teams that I think the NFL is even this a little bit too. Like, I don't think teams are gaming the system as though they like want to increase their net rating in SRS. Teams don't care about that. But I do think that teams have learned how to just utterly demolish bad teams. And in today's era, that can be like a 60-point drubbing, and suddenly all the numbers go wonky. And the Thunder get credit for that. I just don't really care if you beat the Wizards by 60 when I'm talking about you as like one of the greatest teams in history. That's not relevant to the conversation. Look, the Celtics just last year lost 3 times in the playoffs. Nearly only twice. They lost one more right at the end. Thunder are going to lose 5, 6, or 7 games if they win the title, is what we're talking about too. So to me, the game ones killed it. More importantly, I guess, the Denver series is the nail in the coffin from putting this team into the all-time great grouping. You can't go 7 against a 4 or 5 seed. You trailed twice. They trailed 0-1, lost at home. They trailed 2-1, losing in game 3. You can't do that and really not be totally proven yet until they finish the job and be among the all-time greats. And whether it's fair or not, they also are going to have lobbed at them the same thing we've done collectively, the media, as the Celtics last year and the Nuggets the year before that. Well, who did they really beat anyways? They didn't even have to play the top seeds. They didn't play the 2 seed. They didn't play the 3 seed. Guess what? The 2 seed was the Rockets. They weren't good. They played better teams than the Rockets, but we're going to do the thing. They didn't play the 2 seed. And to be fair, they didn't play the Cavs or the Celtics out of the East. They didn't actually play the top East team. And if the Thunder beat the Pacers, until the Pacers actually finish the job and win a title, we're going to talk about them collectively as, oh yeah, that was nice. Good for the Pacers. What a nice run for them with some upsets. We're immediately going to downplay how good the Pacers are if they don't win the title, because that's what we do with all the teams that make their runs. So I don't think that they quite stack up among the greats. That's where I came to land on it.
Yeah, the net rating thing I think is really interesting. They're going to have one of the best defenses ever, which we'll talk about in a second. They're going to have had the MVP. It's tough because everyone kind of asks, like, well, what's the point of this, the point differential stuff? And like the idea is like this has always been the best indicator of team strength. It's always been that. Like point differential is just how much did you win by? That's it.
Yeah.
Like it's margin of victory. That's it. SRS is just margin of victory when you compare it against how tough opponents did you play. And those numbers are very slight because of the fact that you play the same teams in the NBA. But like they can't be as good. I agree. Like they're not in the same class as the 2017 Warriors. Jordan's 91 Bulls lost twice. They lost twice the whole way in that first championship run. So even the first championship run doesn't really get you there. I don't think they're better than the 2015 Warriors. It doesn't feel like they're better than the 2015 Warriors. That one's a little interesting. But,
that one's interesting.
But it's like close, but I would still give the edge to the Warriors. Like here's another one though, because I do think this team is worse than the 2015 Warriors. Like, not who would you take in a series, because that's a different question. Who has a greater greatness index, whatever you want to say, them or the 2008 Celtics?
I knew that's where you're going for there, and I already started thinking about it because in my head, it's the 2008 Celtics. But my head is Kevin Garnett posters and fanboy for life, and finally, final accomplishment. But then my heart remembers, well, maybe in my heart is what I was saying. Either way, the Celtics went 7, like multiple series in that run. Like
versus
I think
the
they won 7
Hawks
in the first round, right? Yeah, they struggled to get over the line in what frankly was not the strongest NBA era either. So that team had a lot of lore about them, the Doc Rivers thing, Ubuntu, all of that. So I feel like that, and like it's a very different team. It's hard to compare the Thunder because it's all the dudes at the end of their career finally getting the ring. It's KG, it's Pierce, it's Ray Allen. So this feels like the opposite of that in some ways. It's weird. Like I'm going to make a cross-sport comparison. The 2008 Celtics feel to me a little bit like the 2016 Cubs in that it was this team that like was in the mix a whole bunch of times, but ended up only getting one title, which really is disappointing if you want to be real about it. But also that it was only one weirdly makes it feel more special that it was just that one. And I feel like from that perspective, again, I don't think that will be the Thunder here. The Celtics were back in the mix a few times. And of course, as we all know, Matt, they remain undefeated with their starting 5 healthy still to this day, that Celtic team. But yeah, I think that one's interesting. I don't know. I feel like I would end up if I went through and ranked, this century's teams, again, not by them facing each other, like you're saying, but just by like quality of team title run. I think I'd end up with the Thunder like in the middle tier pack, but upper middle tier. But I think I'd have I think they'd be multiple tiers below the truly capital G great team of the century for me.
I think out of the 25 teams, 26, I guess, I would probably put this team. It feels like somewhere between 5 and 10. They're in the Tatum zone, where I think you've got the trick. The problem is like if you take it season by season, it's like 2017 Warriors, 2018 Warriors, 2015 Warriors. That's
Right.
3. And then like 2014 Spurs is an interesting one. They went 7.
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
They went 7 with the Mavericks in the first round. They went 6 with against the Thunder in the conference finals, but they did go 4-1 versus the Blazers, 4-1 versus the Heat. And that was the beautiful game Spurs.
Right. Once again, it's the lore. It's the way we think about that team as like, oh man, the peak of basketball was reached in 2014 by the Spurs because we all watched it. We all saw like the ball whizzing around.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's not a slight against the Thunder. We like the Thunder. We respect the Thunder. We think very highly of them. And like, this is not tearing them down in any way. I don't know what's going to be their like memorable thing when we think back on them. And I think what's going to be memorable is that it's going to be the beginning of multiple titles. And the memorable part was seeing Chet come of age, seeing J-Dub have those Nuggets games, game 3 when he scored 32, game 6 when he came through, I believe, if that's the right number. Like, to me, this is the coming of age Thunder year. And I don't know that there is the lore to compare to like the aura of the Warriors teams, the Threedles teams, that Spurs 2014 squad. I know the net rating is better. I know all the, the metrics. We'll get to the defense next. I feel like that it factor about this run is not going to stand out until we get some more perspective on like where did they go from here too. I want to ask you, just within this playoff run, let's say that the Thunder go 4-2 over the Pacers. We have to imagine a little bit how this played out. 2 questions. Number 1, who's the best team the Thunder beat in this title run? Number 2, who's the one team that you would have loved to see Oklahoma City play in this title run that they didn't have to face?
The best team is going to be the Pacers. We talked about this today on Buckets. I thought it was a really interesting discussion because Fiddle, a big reason why Fiddle is actually on Thunder, not a big reason, but a contributing reason for him being on Thunder in game 3 on top of the market analysis that he does, is he was like, wait, so this line supposes that the Pacers are better than the Nuggets? Do we think that's true? And I was like, yes, like the Pacers were absolutely better than the Nuggets. Like they were, the Nuggets seemed very epic, and it was a grand old run for that squad, but they were bones and gristle at the end. That Wolves team just didn't ever get them. It's really not even about how the Wolves could have been the toughest team that they faced. The Wolves never found the gear. They just kept shifting back and forth and never quite found the gear for them to be the team that they needed to be. So that would be my answer, is the Pacers are the best team that they faced. And if you go like, all right, a 4 seed, and it's like, yeah, but and you made this argument about how good they were after January 1st. Like this was a much better team by the end of the season. So yeah, I think the Pacers are the
and 4 seed is the highest seed that they will have played.
Yeah.
So you can say 4 seed or not. Denver was the 5 and Minnesota was the 6.
The team I wish they had played is Boston. Not only for my bankroll, but I also just think that matchup would have been very fascinating.
I agree.
Like I wanted to see what happened when OKC's let them shoot met Boston's okay shoot. Yeah,
I agree. That's exactly my answer. I wanted to see like, will Boston get up 75 threes in an NBA Finals game?
Cavs would have been a much more fun series. That would have been the most fun basketball because the Celtics are kind of a slog. But
it's fair.
But Thunder Celtics would have been the matchup of last year's team trying to become the first team to repeat since 2018 versus the squad. It would have been really good.
Well, and I think too, the opportunity to beat the Celtics would have stamped this run a little bit more for the Thunder in a way that we haven't seen that in recent years, because often we get a more lopsided finals matchup because one favorite doesn't come through, in this case 2 in the East. And so I think the chance to beat the defending champions would have, the thing I was just saying, what stands out about the Thunder run, that beating the Celtics, beating the defending champions, this great 5-man lineup would have been the answer to that thing. So they're the easy answer for me. I don't want to get into it too far. I would personally, I'm going to say it slanderously, I guess, because I don't know a way to not say it this way. I think that the Grizzlies and the Nuggets and the Wolves are very good. I think the Pacers have a better argument of being the worst team that the Thunder will have played than the best team. To me, it's the Nuggets as the best team because they have Nikola Jokic, the best player in the world.
I get it. I understand. And again, this is just like I don't mean to appeal to authority. It's just like,
no, you're there. You're there watching all the games.
I was there every day. Like they were dead. That they thought they could win that series. part of it, like here a good example of this, and this is something not even I say, my wife says this, but almost every Nuggets fan agrees. If the Nuggets win that series, if they win Game 7, they get obliterated by Minnesota. Like that's a good way to think about this. Is they get killed by Minnesota. So I think it's tough to argue that they were this dominant team. Pacers teams, I think this Pacers team's really good.
I do too.
Rank the Thunder defense all time. Candidates: 04 Pistons, Knicks 93. When you dig in, pretty freaking good.
Filthy.
96, 97, or 97, 98 Sonics. I didn't put this on your list, but I want to include them because of the turnover ability. Glove. Celtics 08, Warriors 2015, 05 Spurs, 96 Bulls.
Yeah, this is a hard one. This is the question I least feel like I can give a qualified answer for, that I would like to do some more work. Like this could be its own podcast and rank like 10 of these against each other.
Right.
I don't have a clear answer here. I have a couple other teams that I wanted to add to the list that stood out to me. I think your list is very good. I like adding the Sonics just because of, not because of the OKC thing, but stylistically the turnovers thing and Glove. I like that a lot. I think 99 Spurs, just because that is the one version of a Spurs title team that you get the peak Twin Towers. You get Timmy when he's ready to go, but you also get David Robinson before it's in kind of more the twilight years for them. But it's the strike season. But they did obliterate everyone in the playoffs that year. I think low key, I don't think they quite cracked this top group of the list. The 2019 Raptors, just by collection of names, Kawhi Leonard, Marc Gasol, Defensive Player of the Year, Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, excellent guard defender, Serge Ibaka, OG Anunoby, Kyle Lowry. That's a lot of good defenders on that team. I know how they won the title. I get it. Just a lot of good defenders on that team.
Yep.
I understand why they're not on your list. To me, if I have to pick in the number one all-time defense, it has to just be something in the 60s with Bill Russell and the Celtics. We can't compare that to any of these teams. So I get it. They're their own era and own version of basketball. They just were leaps and bounds ahead of other teams. If I had to pick one of this entire group, and this is, again, defense is different. We don't have such great metrics for it and everything. Just by Brandon has watched basketball since the 80s. Who's been the best defense? The answer that stands out to me is the 2004 Detroit Pistons. Yeah. Just that team was about defense. That 5-man unit was about defense. Some quick stats for you. In the 2004 playoffs, the Pistons, and I know it's a different era, I know, they allowed under 90 points 18 playoff games in that one run. They allowed under 80 points 11 times that playoff run. They allowed under 70 points 6 times. 6 times, Matt, in a playoff run. That's an entire series. That's a quarter of their games. They held a team to the 60s, including they're one of 2 teams, the 98 Bulls being the other, to allow a team under 60 points in a playoff game. Again, I know it's a different scoring era than now. Do you understand what we would do if an NBA team scored 59 or less in a playoff game? Yeah. These are insane numbers. Now, here's the reason it can't be the Pistons. I didn't even know this till I had to look it up while we're on air right now. In 2004, the Detroit Pistons did not even lead the league in defensive rating in their own year. The Spurs were more than a point better by defensive rating. Turns out Spurs pretty good defensively. If you're not even number one your own year in the regular season, how can you be the best defense ever? So I don't know. They're probably not the answer. I think the Thunder belong in the list. I need to see them finish the job because the little red flag about turnovers is still like flying above my head, but they're pretty much proving that that's a real thing. I think they are certified on the list. I have no idea how to order these.
Best closeouts I've ever seen. Best turnover team I've ever seen. I used to think the turnovers were always something you could control. I no longer believe that. You can play defense at a level where it does not matter what you do. They will force turnovers. Like these teams are oftentimes just like usually when a team turns it over, they know. They're like, okay, all right. I went to my left and I should have gone to my right. Okay, I turned this angle and I should have turned the other way. Okay, we didn't communicate clearly on the screen. Like, all right, I thought he was going to be in this spot. He wasn't over here. I didn't see that guy. The turnovers OKC causes are by the other player inexplicable. Like they're like, what happened? Like I had the ball and now it's in the net for them. What happened? It's absolutely stunning. I looked up defensive rating on Basketball Reference, which is calculated a little bit differently than just standard defensive rating.
Yeah.
But I looked up that for conference champions, teams that made the finals. So your defense carried over and you won playoff games with it. Didn't mean have to be the reason you won, but with there. Your winner, the 1999 San Antonio Spurs.
All right.
Second, your 04 Pistons. Third, the 99 Knicks. So the number 1 and number 3 by Basketball Reference's defensive rating since 2000 met in that.
Yeah.
In those
which is also to me why, similar to the 04 Pistons, that's why those can't be the answers anymore. If 2 of the greatest defenses were in the same season, that tells me, maybe offense has stunk in the strike shortened season. Like similar even to the Warriors 73-9 season that everyone lauded. Well, we kind of forget the Spurs like nearly matched the record. Like there were like 3 teams that all had these crazy records, similar to the Bulls when they won 72. So I think context is important, but context is always really hard to figure out in these contests here.
The 03 Nets, underrated. That defense was really legit. Like they just got stomped, but in the finals, that team really, like, it was a really good team. They just had no shot versus the Lakers.
Yeah, the East, that entire like early 2000s era was fully defense in the East, including the Sixers, Iverson's team, a defense forward, defense first team, some nasty defenses in that range, just not enough offense with it against the West.
05 Spurs has a real case here for being the best defense of this era. They got a real case for this. They held opponents. Oh my God. They held opponents to 43% shooting from the field.
That's so bad.
These numbers are hilarious compared to right now. Like, the Pacers this year allowed 47% shooting, and we're not like a bad defense this year. They were not a great defense, but they weren't a bad defense. Pacers, by the way, second worst defense of a conference champion since 2000. What was the worst?
2018 Cavs.
2024 Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
The team I constantly say was a fluke. That Cavs team 2018 was, it's this list is literally the worst is 24 Mavericks, the second worst is 25 Pacers, the third worst is 23 Nuggets, and then the fourth worst is 23 Heat, and then the 2018 Cavs, who were truly terrible.
So era adjustment in there probably a little bit.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you should check out over at Jared Dubin's Substack last night in basketball. Okay, we're over an hour. Let's speed it up. Will this be the biggest upset title in history if the Pacers won? Place it amongst all sports, not just the NBA.
Yeah. So to speed it up, no. So not close here. This is not Tyson Douglas. This is not Nova Georgetown. This is not NC State Phi Sigma Jamma. This is not Giants 16-0 Patriots.
Yeah.
It's none of those things, in part because all those things I just listed are one-time events. So how do you compare you win one game versus you got to win best of 7? I love the NBA because we get the right champion, because over 7 games you get a better sample size, and I like my sample size. I like deserving champions. I think for the Pacers to be in the mix, and maybe this is what you meant, Pacers over Thunder, absolutely not close. We have betting odds for this. The number doesn't line up with some of the other numbers we've seen. Pacers from start of the season to now, through the playoff run they just had, okay, now I'm interested. Now that's a possible one. just a team to compare to, Leicester City in the Premier League, maybe like a decade ago, was 50-1 to win. No, 5,000 to 1, I think, to win the championship. In soccer, in the Premier League, you play every other team. There's 19 other teams. You play them each twice, home and away. Season is over. There's no playoffs. If you want to win the title, you just got to be the best team at the end of the season. So the season is a 38-game playoff, effectively. And for a Cinderella team to even be in the mix is unheard of. There's like 4 to 6 teams that constantly are at the top year after year after year. This was a team that was supposed to be like 13th or 15th best out of 20 and kept winning games. To me, it is, at least as an adult sports writer, it is the Cinderella story to me. What Leicester City did over the course of a full year of games. We've seen plenty of teams in sports, and it's magical every time, get hot for a month or a week or whatever. We see the hot goalie, we see the hot football team, we see the upsets. To put the Pacers 2 months and all the big upsets and all the comebacks, and then to finish it with a flourish with it's not just the Thunder, but it's all the stuff along the way, and the way they did it with the comebacks, that I think can stack up to the Leicester City, to the magical runs, but it's not just the finals. It's got to be the whole thing.
That makes sense. I like that. That makes sense. This can't be a bigger upset than Cavs. That's what's really weird. Is like the Warriors were so inevitable in 2016. Like after that game, I expected Game 8. That is all I kept thinking. Is like, when's Game 8?
Yeah. But the Cavs were like plus 180 or something, though.
Yeah. So
versus the Pacers being, what were the Pacers? Plus 700 coming into the series here?
It's like
500?
Yeah. 500. Yeah. Because they juiced it because they hate us. It's tough. I think this one's really tough to figure out. Is like trying to, because we get so few, and even we just limit it to NBA, it's really hard to find teams that upset legendary great teams out of nowhere. Like there's upsets of great teams like the 04 Pistons, but the 04 Pistons were really good.
Right.
Like they were.
I was going to ask you how. So I believe that was also a plus 500. I think by betting odds, those were exactly the same way. So plus 500 implies 17% chance that the Pistons would have won or that the Pacers would have won the finals. Assuming the Pacers finish the job here, which of those two feels like the bigger upset to you?
God, that Lakers team was Shaq and Kobe.
And Glove and Mailman.
And Malone. But God, that Pistons, like, you know, I think the Pacers won. I think the Pacers won 50 this year. How many games did they win?
I got it.
This matters to me.
The Pacers won 50 even.
Yeah, 50 even. Pistons only won 54. They were second in their division too, in 04. But God, that if this feels bigger to me, this feels legitimately bigger.
Yeah.
Like the Thunder have won like 68 games by double digits this season, okay, including the playoffs. It's ridiculous.
Well, and we have the context also that those Pistons went on to make the conference finals like 5 more times in a row after that year. Like we knew that it turned out their defense really was that good, to be in one of our previous questions. And like, even if the Pacers win this, I don't think anyone is earmarking them for like, oh man, Pacers East for the next half a decade. I don't think that's disrespect either. That's just not what we're seeing this team as yet. So I think I've myself talked about the Thunder as that on this very episode already. So I think considering what the Thunder, like that the Thunder are supposed to be the team winning everything for the next decade, the Lakers were in hindsight at the end, right? Like the Shaq Kobe thing had run its course. Malone and Peyton were just like hanging on, trying to get a title. In hindsight, plus 500 was just the wrong number for Detroit, right?
Yeah.
The Lakers just weren't the Lakers weren't as good as we thought because of the 4 names on the roster, and the Pistons were better than we thought. I don't think the plus 500 was wrong on Pacers Thunder. I think it just is that big of an upset. So I think Pacers in just finals matchups, just in the NBA, I don't know if I have a bigger one than the Pacers, at least in my lifetime of finals. It's maybe something back in like the 70s or 80s.
Last one I've got for you is a very short one, and it's just Alex Caruso. I want to run you through some comps here if they win the title. I want you to tell me who is the greater player. You ready?
I'm ready.
Danny Green or Alex Caruso?
Ooh, starting out with a tough one.
Two
I gotta go
titles.
Danny Green. I love Danny Green. I gotta go Danny.
You got Lakers, Raptors, and Spurs. He got titles with. So all right.
Yeah.
Kentavious Caldwell Pope, 2 titles, Lakers and Nuggets.
Caruso easily for me.
Okay. All right. Drew Holiday, Bucks and Celtics.
Oh, Drew Holiday. Just because he played a lot more.
James Posey, Heat and the Celtics.
I don't know that I know a ton about, like, I know who Posey is, but I don't feel like I have a good comp there. To me, I'll go with Caruso, but I don't have a good ranking for Posey.
I'm going to challenge you on this one because I feel like this will be hard for you. It's Rajon Rondo.
That one is interesting. It's a stylistically similar. Caruso is capped out at like 25 minutes. And as good as he is in those minutes, Rondo contributed more overall. So I got to edge Rondo there, but I think that's an interesting one. Can I give you some names or you got more?
This is my favorite one.
Okay.
Sam Cassell.
Oh, interesting. That one surprises me. Yeah, I'm a little bit tainted on Sam Cassell because of the Timberwolves. You know, he's on like the great Timberwolves team when they,
he was,
but obviously also won titles with the Rockets as well.
And the Celtics.
He was on that team? He was like a bench player?
Team. He was on the 08 team.
Big ball Sammy making the rounds. Yeah, I mean, I got to say Sam just because to me, let me give you some names to explain why. I think I'm going to default to most of the guys you're saying just because Caruso is a limited bench player. Yeah. So I'm looking more for like a little like more like Sam Cassell was like a borderline all-star at his best times.
I agree.
I'm wanting just a role player. So let me give you a couple names. Derek Fisher or Alex Caruso.
God. Oh, God. Oh, that's gross. Fuck it. Alex Caruso, he's better.
Okay. Just players. Steve Kerr or Alex Caruso?
Steve Kerr. No question. Steve Kerr.
How about Ron Harper? I like the Ron Harper comp.
That one's really good. That's really close. I'll say Harper by nose, but it's real close.
Harper actually had a couple of seasons, I think, before his knee got messed up, that he was not a Caruso level player, like a really good all-star level player.
Yeah.
But I thought Ron Harper was the best one. I also had different positional, obviously Robert Horry, just by way of if you're listing role players, too many Horry years.
Yeah, well, it's just like Bob is the guy. Like if you're talking about those guys, Bob is the guy. Like he's on the tier. He's the S tier of those guys.
Yeah. Is there a world like Caruso's only 30, I think? We might there's no reason to me Caruso can't be Caruso playing his 20, 25 minutes a game for 8 more years on multiple more teams to come. Could he work his way into the Big Shot Bob, Derek Fisher list of the guys? I think there's a world where he could get there.
Yeah, he could. I don't want to say they can't, he won't, or they can't. He could. I'm a little Caruso'd out is part of this. I'm real tired of the internet losing its mind over where and it's not just because I'm guys, he's been great for 5 years. Where really you just now found him, and the Bulls fans and Lakers fans being we always loved him. This is who we knew he was. I'm yeah, I get it. You hate your teams. I understand. I get it. I'm just out.
That's fair. All right. I've got one more Shai question for you, and we can get out of here. I guess it's a 2-part Shai question. Question 1, assuming Shai finals MVP, so finish the job, where does this single season Shai season rank among Oklahoma City history. And again, just Oklahoma City here. So I'll give you 2 specific years because I think they're the other 2 choices. The Kevin Durant MVP, Mama, you're the real MVP year. And I'm asking you, like, on behalf of OKC fans, is what I want to know. Not historically for me and you. Like, where will Thunder see this? The Durant MVP, also the Russell Westbrook MVP Revenge Tour year, or the Shai MVP plus title and Finals MVP. Is it first on the list?
God. For OKC fans, yeah, you win the title. Like, you win the title, that's it. And then, like, it wipes away all of the blood, the pain, the tears of 2012 to 2016. Like, it heals all of that. Like, OKC is a new franchise. Think about the misery that they dealt with in 2012 to 2017. Like, pain. Like, Serge Ibaka, like, there's so many ifs with them. There's so many. Like, Clay has a good game. Just like a really good playoff game in Game 6. That's it. The Thunder win the title. But yeah, they win the title. They win the title. There's this metric called box plus minus, which some people I know like.
Heard of it.
And this is the best one of any Thunder team. This is the best one. He's got an 11.5. Russ was second in 2017 through volume at 11.1. Durant, which that season's actually become underrated in retrospect. Durant is third at 10.2. There's a bunch of Russ ones actually that I would have put as like the non-Russ MVP, like the Russ with KD seasons. There were a bunch that I think were legitimately incredible years. I spent a lot of my time at CBS being like, hey guys, I know the Thunder are really good and everyone thinks Kevin Durant's the MVP, but like, do y'all see Westbrook? Because like he's incredible. Like he's absolutely ridiculous. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to put myself in the shoes of Thunder fans because both of those years, the Russ Revenge Tour MVP and the Durant, like I cried when Kevin Durant won that MVP. And I've followed Kevin Durant since Texas and even before. Like legitimately, when he gave the speech and he shouted out, "Mama, you're the real MVP," like I still get like goosebumps. Like that's how meaningful that was to me. Not even as an actual Thunder fan, having just been to a handful of Thunder games in OKC and a Durant fan. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if emotionally this year measures up to the emotional impact of that breakthrough. We got our guy Durant year, or that revenge tour Russ just taking it out on everyone year. But also, I'm the fan of the team that always loses at the end. And maybe when you win the title, after all the not winning the title, none of the other stuff matter. Like what if the Timberwolves won the title this year? Where would I rank Ant's year compared to all the KG years? It's hard because I would rank the KG years better, but it's because I don't know the feeling of Ant winning the title this year. So I only know like the nostalgia of the, especially the KG year with the MVP and everything. So I think you're right. I think it has to be the Shai season, but I don't think it takes away from those other two. And I think they stay very much in the mix.
The whole thing about you never love anyone the way you love your first love, right? That whole idea, I think, is kind of part of this because like the pain of that first breakup is so killer. And like the ones that you get after are better and they're healthier and they're more fulfilling for you and like you get more out of them. But like it's never gonna be that. It's just never gonna be that. And that's what KD was. Like KD, and they all loved him so much. And the way it ended, especially, I understand what you're saying, but also winning a title is pretty fucking cool. So we'll see.
It's pretty great. Okay, here's my last part 2 of the question. When it's all said and done, just Thunder players as options. So Russ, Durant, Harden, and Shai. That's the 4 options. where will Shai's career rank accordingly when it's all said and done? Right now, based on what we know, where will Shai rank compared to Russ, Durant, Harden? Is he at the top of the list or somewhere down the list?
Second, it'll be KD and then him.
I would say top. I think because the
you're projecting him to win 4 titles. So yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Is like I think a higher median outcome for him. I think he wins at least one more MVP. I think that is a very fair place to put him at, given how the team's going to be the next 3 to 5 years. And I think he wins at least one, likely 2 more titles. So if you are a 2-time MVP and a 2 to 3 time champion, you're a top 20 player in NBA history. And I think there's a very real chance that that is the beginning still of what we are seeing. And it's weird because I agree, Matt. Like, I don't quite feel that yet, but maybe it's because it's just the beginning and we still need to see. And maybe there's a knockout blow coming too.
I think we're projecting. I just think we live in an era of NBA plot twists, and I can't get there. But maybe that's under the exception. I understand all the reasons for it. That's Brandon Anderson. You can follow him on Twitter at Wheaton Brando. I'm at HB Basketball. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Give us a like and subscribe. Hit the comment section. Let us know your lists of all these different things we talked about. If you like more of this, check out our podcast Buckets, which you can find wherever you get podcasts. Talks about NBA betting. I'm at Locked On NBA every day, Monday through Friday. Thanks for joining us. See you guys again next time on Hooper Legacy Court.